Welcome back, everyone, to Into the Nexus, the podcast all about Heroes of the Storm. I'm Garrett Weinzierl, and I'm joined, as always, today by Kyle Fergusson. Hey, dude.
How's it going, man? We have a giant show today.
It's thick. It's a thick boy.
We got to get you ready. Next week is Season 4 of 2018, and there is a lot coming with it. A live balance that went live yesterday, a PTR that's going to go live on the same day of the season roll. We're going to do it all, because you got to be ready. It's placements again.
I don't know if I can carry with Kerrigan anymore, Kyle. What's going on?
Well, actually, you might be able to tank with Kerrigan.
I have a lot of questions there. I'm just, they mess with their timing, and Kerrigan's all about timing, and I don't know. I need to learn new timing, and yeah.
Yeah. There's that range. The range change is a big deal, but you get two, and we'll certainly be talking about her rework, Brightwing. I got to play some Garden of Terror and everything that's happening in the balance and AMA this week. Oh my goodness.
Oh my goodness, indeed. So let's just get into it.
I'm really excited. I'm excited. I'm excited to get this season rolling. I want to reset my points. We're in World of Warcraft territory now, man. It's not safe to stand still. This whole season has been a long work of me moving away from auto attackers so I don't have to stand in a place and get hit by everything.
Well, it doesn't look like that's changing. A lot is changing, but it's looking like auto attackers are still going to be out of fashion. So I think you're okay.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, Zul'jin, I don't think you're going to be okay.
Oh, no, I haven't played Zul'jin in a long time. It's been fun. It's been fun changing up the roster, learn new heroes.
Actually, I know we have like an absolute monumental ton of things to talk about, but if we could just kind of chat for a moment. Why is Zul'jin on all of my games all of a sudden, and why is his win rate not terrible?
I think he just kind of does pretty well in a lot of situations. He punishes those who also stand still, so it could be a league sort of thing. Like, when you make good decisions, you can be a great Zul'jin and really climb fast. I find his moment of commitment is too long, because you get that axe on somebody and you got to invest for 6 seconds. Whereas what's now on my roster in his place really is Cassia, who dances, and then one moment comes together and everything's perfect, and you fend for all of 3 seconds and kill the hero, and then you run away again with reductions.
Yeah, I'm not sure where it was. I was seeing Zul'jins left and right, and I've been hearing, stats tell me his level 10, good talent diversity. Tez Dingo still winning, but Guillotine has been catching up. I hadn't seen it in my actual games, and lo and behold, ended up in a game against the Guillotine Zul'jin this week that just rocked it. It was gross.
Well, yeah, Guillotine's still pretty good. I mean, the real tragic tale is also that we can't stand still, but Johanna, Cassia, Lily, been at the very top of the win rates for this whole season. And you get blowned during an important dingo or any sort of moment as an auto attacker, and things are going to hurt.
Indeed. Cool. Well, thank you for allowing me that one questionnaire. Now, let's get into a whole bundle of questions in this week's Heroes of the Storm news.
We're on, boys! Ha-ha! Let's liven up this place!
Put me to the stage.
Click the play button, and let's get started.
All right, let's kick things off today with what is currently live in the game. Like, if you go play right now, these are the things you need to concern yourself with. First off, right off the bat, I guess let's just address Hanamura. Pretty minor here, but XP has been rearranged in the Mercenaries. Sentinel Engineer camps now give a little more overall experience. Their XP and their XP scaling has gone up, whereas the Recon camps have had their kill and capture XP slightly reduced.
We were talking in previous weeks how the real strategy of Hanamura is to farm the Recon camps. These are the site camps. The Sentinel camp is the Samurai, the big old robot on your half of the map. So we now have an official name for it, Sentinel. And they got a little bit of love, too.
Yeah. I call it the thing that looks like that thing from that Wolverine movie.
Oh, yeah. That's right.
You forgot about that one,
movie.
Right? What was that?
Yeah. I saw that one. It was fun.
It was fun. We all forgot about it because Logan was, like, life-changing.
Well, it was kind of, this was just a chapter of an episode at Samurai Business, and Logan was like, and here's some heavy stuff.
Way to keep it out of spoiler territory. All right, let's get into the buff column of the balance update that came along this week, starting off with Chromie. Health and regen up 5% across the board. Got a little more health. Gets that health back a little bit faster. But in more interesting news with Chromie, her traits bonus damage was upped by 12%. Keep an eye out for Dragon's Breaths because they are now coming out 1 second sooner than they used to because it got a 1 second cooldown reduction. And as far as talents are concerned, Bouncing Sand, Deep Breathing, and Mobius Loop have all received major buffs.
The good news here is that Chromie is not regaining her range in these buffs. So they're keeping her in the same sort of territory. They want her to get in her auto attacks to do so. She needs a little bit more health, and they want to get you doing a little bit more damage when those things do hit. Still, third from the bottom. Bottom heroes right now are Hanzo, Junkrat, Chromie, Blaze, and Final Tassadar.
Which seems a little weird.
A lot of this is, and we're going to run into these today as well, pro adjustments. Because Blaze, he takes coordination. I know in my own coordinated team games, having a Blaze off in some lane, it's like, oh, thank goodness, one less thing to keep track of. We're going to 4-man knowing Blaze is perfectly safe. Blaze, come on up when we need you. In a Hero League scenario, Blaze does not come up when you need him because he's been solo laning. It's so easy. You can't blame the guy. You've been doing one thing all game, and then everyone starts yelling at you because you got lost down there. You're busy.
You told me to be a specialist. I was down here being a specialist, being special, and now you want me to tank.
Right? You wanted me to soak and then 10 hit? You want me to stop soaking? Are you crazy? What's wrong with you? Also, Bunker, of course, has less coordinated play in a Hero League environment.
Yes, absolutely. More on that later. Falstad got buffs. We've mentioned him here and there. He's been on a modest rise for weeks now.
These Falstad buffs really tell the BlizzCon story. It happens every year. Globals get big right before BlizzCon because they want to encourage the counterplay, the cool mechanics, the flying around business that's so good for esports. Also, Dahaka's very much in the meta and very much in HGC at the moment. That Yrel, Blaze, Dahaka, man in the solo lane. Next week is Brightwing, rework. She's looking real good. If you enter into a meta where Brightwing and Dahaka are really good, well, guess who else needs to be kind of good in order to survive in that area? Falstad.
Yeah. That being said, the only thing that wasn't a buff was to flight. It had 5 seconds tacked onto its cooldown, so now it's up to a full minute. But hammering, lightning rod, barrel roll, all buffed across the board. Significant mana cost reduction to hammering and lightning rod. Barrel roll got a reduction as well, but not as drastic.
Yeah, pretty crazy that they're going for a buff in the mana while still reducing the flight. So they want you to be out on the field. They want you to fly places, maybe not necessarily be flying back from a hearth as often.
To me, Falstad has always felt like he's still been stuck in that tech alpha phase of horrendously mana inefficient heroes.
And you see it because of his prolonged presence on the battlefield, whereas someone like Genji does have really old school feel mana. If you don't get kills on Genji, you run out of mana and you can no longer do your business and you have to hearth. Thing is, when you're winning on Genji, you win, then you hearth at some point when no one ever sees you. You get mana, you come back, and it feels like, oh, Genji's always here, always present.
Yep. Getting a little less awe-inspiring. Nova receiving some buffs. I mean, she has been struggling in win rates for quite some time. And I don't expect that this is going to make much of a difference. The buffs here are to basically underpick talents kind of across the board. Advanced Cloaking, Perfect Shot, and Explosive Shot are the talents that receives buffs here. I do feel the need to point out that Advanced Cloaking's movement speed bonus was doubled, but it was only 5%, which means it's going up to 10%, which is good. It's quality of life improvement, but I don't think it's going to be... I don't expect to see Nova rocketing up the win rates because of these changes.
Yeah, and it is popularity. Explosive Shot here has a 15% pick rate. They're trying to encourage people to take those things. If Falstad's Brightwings are running around, does Nova have a place in getting them dead? I don't see it happening in HGC.
Nor do I. Very subtle, but I like this change a lot, is with Anubarak. He's been kind of just hanging out right at an even 50% win rate for quite a while now, going maybe a little bit above or dipping a little bit below, but pretty much sitting right there. But he's had 1 second taken off of the cooldown of Carapace.
Yeah, a very interesting change for him because, of course, that Carapace does give him spell reduction. And right now, a lot of our league maps are very in favor of Jaina's and Kael'thas's, particularly things like Alterac Pass, also Mephisto, really climbing over the last week, released at that kind of spooky. It was almost like a 48, even 42 on opening day, and now he's up to 53%. So this means more shielding for Anubarak, more recovery if your teams don't ban out those Jaina's and Kael'thas's, which is a really good choice to do. There isn't as much need to ban a Tyrande if you can get in her face. The reason why Tyrande has such a high win rate is because she is in your business, auto-attacking your guys. That's why Lily's there, Brightwing as well, Kharazim, all our top win rate heroes our healers are just in the enemy face. So flip that on its head and take Anubarak. He's pretty good right now.
Yeah, I dig it. It's one of the main reasons I think we saw Tyrande rise so fast. I mean, her rework was successful, but you can put spell armor on her heal at level 1. It's good. It's very good right now.
All the burst damage we were just talking about, not being able to stand still. Guess what? What are you doing when you're not standing still? You're probably casting spells and then running away. Spell damage reduction is a pretty healthy thing to have on any kit.
Yeah.
Plus beetles. Beetles interrupt channels. There's going to be more channels with the upcoming updates and people trying to grab on to Alterac Pass, prisons, and garden terror, business, seeds.
Yeah. Arthas, not to be left behind from his Frost Bro, Anubarak, also received some buffs. More than Anubarak, though. He got a modest buff to health and regen, around the 5% area for both. But this makes me think, Kyle, Anubarak's Carapace got a buff, and while it is spell armor, it is also just a flat shield for survivability. We haven't even talked about ETC and Tyrael yet, but they both also received health and regen buffs. Are we still trying to make up for the loss of base armor from 4 months ago? Are we still trying to make tanks that aren't Johanna beefy?
And Johanna's got that shield. It's easy to forget that's just not an unstoppable. That iron skin has a lot behind it. Blinding for yourself is easier than blinding for your allies because you can see them hitting you, so you save yourself. So there's a little bit of a mind trick there too. You run up and go, punish and slow people, and everyone goes, run away from Johanna. That's time they don't spend attacking you. So Johanna can also be a little deceptively tanky, despite just being tanky in the first place. Such a fantastic kit. The kitchen sink, as I've called it in the past. Arthas, in the devs' minds right now, is currently where Blaze is. They're a little lost as to what to do with him. They believed when Blaze came out that he was going to be a solo tank material. He's got all the mobility, the stuns, and Arthas now, being noted as more of a catch tank, is receiving some health to help him do that catching. And he certainly has his heavy counters. I mean, somebody goes Greymane, Illidan. Arthas is an amazing pick to catch those heroes because once they're in your zone, they're stuck there. They're dead. Whereas things that are maybe a bit more winning or even mobile, Cassia, Malthael is doing a lot of owning right now. And of course, our top assassins are things like even Raynor still. They don't really care so much.
Yeah. I don't really have a lot of complaints about this. I like his kind of old school feel, and he always comes in and out. It kind of feels like Arthas is always in style, just waiting for the right time to be selected.
And I do wonder if Arthas, with his frame up a root, could be pretty good against Mephisto. We'll see if he is being pushed into the solo lane, because he now has that Frostmourne cooldown reduction of 2 seconds, which means more sustainability for Arthas, which means maybe he can kind of hang out there by himself.
Yeah, I'm actually very excited about the Frostmourne Hunger's buff. It's great. And if you don't play him a lot, it doesn't just mean more damage. It also means more mana. So.
Which he does have an issue with if you do not hit that button.
Oh, yeah, and if you're not managing your aura correctly. If you tend to leave it on when you're not fighting, not saying I know anyone who does that. It's me. It's me I'm talking about.
No, and I'm a horrible Arthas for it. And I feel like maybe that's just why, in general, we see more Johanna play, because all those buttons are very, oh, no, click, oh, condemn, blind them, punish, they're close. They can be so panic cast, whereas Arthas, it's very methodical. And when to turn off your aura is nuanced. I certainly don't understand it well.
If you don't think you're going to be fighting in the next second or two, go for it.
Yeah.
It's like a global cooldown. It's a very short, very, very short delay from when you can turn it back on again. It's just a matter of getting in a cadence of doing that.
I actually ran a great activity for myself and actually my stream this last week. HOTS Draft is a tool we talked about a long time ago. It's a great website if you're just not sure what to be picking at a certain time. You're able to select your map, able to select what heroes have been banned, and then based on HOTS logs information, hotsdraft.com will fill out the draft for you and suggest heroes. And you can even go make an account, say, I really, really like playing Alarak, and it'll rate Alarak higher than picking something like Artanis in that situation, even though he has a higher win rate.
Yeah, they've been keeping it updated, and it's quite the impressive tool.
It is. This isn't a sponsor or anything. It's a really fun tool. And what we did on the stream this week was got everyone in. We all agreed that we were going to follow this thing to the letter, 100%, and we drafted exactly what it told us to. And it went really strong, and I got to play a lot of heroes I don't normally get to. It was recommending some Johanna, so I'm getting into that. It was a really powerful way for me to recognize or even just theorize why some heroes might be more powerful in other situations, and why you would go Johanna over a comfort pick like Diablo there. So if you're looking for excuses to get in to other heroes, to explore other avenues, try out this tool, do it in unranked, just fill it out, and you'll start to picture those pieces.
Yeah. It opens your mind. It gives you other suggestions. You shouldn't follow it blindly, like you shouldn't follow any of the tools that we talk about blindly. But if you kind of leave yourself open to it, you might find yourself playing something you hadn't thought of and find a new angle on the game. I really like it a lot. So before we leave buffs, I mentioned ETC and Tyrael. They also received health and regen buffs. The only other thing to mention is Tyrael also received a buff to righteousness. The cooldown and mana cost was reduced 1 second off the cooldown and 5 mana off of the cost from 50 to 45.
I would certainly be happy to play some more Tyrael. Very interesting that, and not entirely tragic, but interesting that during a perhaps rising time of Malthael, we are buffing our tanks with health.
I hadn't thought about that, but you're right. Malthael has seemed like the correct answer in a lot of the drafts I've been in lately.
If you see a Malthael ban, it usually means a Yrel right now. He's not as powerful against things that are more old school, you could say, like even Diablo, but he still has that place, and you'll be right to be afraid of him. But these aren't other types of buffs. These are all a lot of health buffs, which Malthael won't care as much about.
Yeah. Good point. On to nerfs. Mephisto. Kind of knew this was coming. The damage is down on his Lightning Nova and consumes souls slow. Well, it's not nearly as slow. And I know how you're very critical of how slow a slow is being worth it or not, Kyle. Well, it's down to 25%. I'm pretty sure this is below your realm of happiness with slows and Heroes of the Storm.
Yeah, it was at 40%, so certainly at 25 you won't be noticing it as much. Still above 20, which anything in 10 I just don't care about in the least. No one's going to care about anything like that. The important thing to note about the Lightning Nova is that the damage was reduced on the overall end, but mostly on the bonus end. So if you're going in and buzzing and scaring people with your Hatred Lightning, they'll still feel it. This isn't awful. 48 to 45. The real tail end of this is when you would get those maximum stacks when you start to do the crit damage. That damage scaling has been reduced from 4% to 3%. So late game, not as powerful, not as much shielding. They even went through and got rid of some of your static barrier, taking that shielding from 50% to 40% of the damage done. So they're trying to work you off your main Malthael build. However...
You mean Mephisto?
Mephisto, yes.
Gotcha.
Spell power, still intact at level 1. Armor still intact at level 7, so no messing with there.
Gotcha. Yeah, I think this is a smart way to adjust it, kind of, because if it wasn't on the bonus end, it would feel like they were punishing even the most unoptimal of scenarios where you only have like one person in your Lightning Nova.
And they'd just be taking away a lot of the play style that's developed in the first place. You get rid of that 20% power. Maybe we're using Shade in a very different way. You'd, in a simple balance change the entire way these guys are playing. And they are getting really cute, hiding their bodies in bushes, jumping out, moving around.
Yeah. But on the other side, Kyle, do you remember when I was defending Durance of Hate?
Yeah.
I really shouldn't have been. Because it has been buffed so much. Missile speed is up by 25%. The range of that missile is up by 25%. The root duration had half a second added on, which doesn't sound like a lot, but when you realize that it used to be 2 and now it's 2.5, that's a 25% increase to that root. And then the damage was increased by 56%, Kyle.
They really want you to Durance some hate here. And there is a perhaps bug right now on the PTR that has Mephisto's Consume Soul going on full-blown cooldown if interrupted. So as of right now, you get interrupted, you go on that sort of 7-second, 8-second global like things like Ancestral do. Consume Soul, it's gone. Kind of like an ETC mosh pit. You started it? Well, guess what? You didn't finish it, and it is out.
Yeah, I would expect that to be fixed maybe by the end of the show, hopefully before the weekend.
Could be. I mean, honestly, it could be on purpose because you still do the reveal, you still do the slow, you just don't get the damage at the end. And if you have the power to teleport anywhere in that range and cast this thing, you might want to do it in safety. It could be you still revealed, you still got part of the product. And people were noting that if you continued to get interrupted over and over again, you could have an extended period of time where you just kept revealing that enemy team. Could be intentional.
Hadn't run into that, but that's a good point. Well,
but right now, Consume Soul, 95% pick rate. All right, yep. Let's fix that a little bit.
Yep. You got quite a few talents kind of adjusted as well. Anything in here you want to highlight?
They're going after Lightning Reaction. Static Field is down from 12% of maximum health to 10%. So they want some diversity at 16. Shade Lord at 20. They want you to cast it. Lots of this is just take it. It's too unpopular.
Well, we talked about Mephisto. There's got to be one other hero that definitely received a nerf.
Surely not.
Unfortunately, it is, and it's Tyrande.
Tyrande, top win rate hero and still going up.
Yeah, she's still doing fine. I mean, we haven't had this patch for long, so take that with a grain of salt. We'll see what it looks like next week. But yeah, she got some nerfs. If you're out there playing Tyrande, keep an eye on your mana because her Q, Light of a Loon, it now heals for less and costs 50% more. 15 mana may not sound like a lot, but it only cost 10 before. So this is actually a 50% increase on the cost of that heal. And speaking of heals, Shadowstalk also got a minor ding to its heal. Went from 40 to 38. It's a 5% reduction, even. So Starfall was not messed with, but when you think of the fact that Starfall reduces the cooldown on your Q and Q was nerfed, the healing output of Starfall via the way that her kit functions has also been affected.
Needs to happen. It's very interesting that they did go after the mana cost of Light of a Loon here. In fact, in the AMA, we found out that one of the big meetings they're having this week is what is mana? And they're having the entire team get in one room to discuss the meaning of mana and where they're going to go with it in the future. Right now, they want you to interact with it, to suffer when you cast too much. Feels like a lose more situation.
A little bit. And I was having mana issues with Tyrande before the nerf. I definitely felt I was running out of mana in rather dire situations. But I don't think it's a bad thing. Like, because otherwise, why have mana, right? Like, if it's inconsequential, why bother having it?
And so many heroes just ramp up over time and lose their mana issues as the game goes on. We'll talk about Brightwing's rework in a little bit and how they really played with that in a cute way. As of right now, since yesterday, this isn't enough data to roll with, but win rates are leaking away from Tyrande rather fast, probably because it's such a spammy, active hero that people have been playing. It's going into Lucio at the moment. We'll see how that progresses, but Tyrande's still top dog.
Yeah, I think she'll be fine. They did adjust her talents as well, but the talents were really kind of running away with diversity, with the exception of maybe level 7. Like, level 7 has very good talent diversity, and they kind of went after the most popular talent there. But that's okay. I think the other two options at 7 outside of Elun's Chosen are very strong, and I think Elun's Chosen is still good.
She's also a great target, which I think is being developed. So a rightfully reined in talent change, because I know in my games, get the Tyrande is often the strategy called.
Yeah, you should kill her.
Get in her face.
Yep. And then we get basically into our minor nerfs. Phoenix, which isn't necessarily minor, but this is really the only change, is Purification Salvo's cooldown went from 75 up to 90 seconds.
I still see it as number one pick.
It's still good. You just have to wait longer.
Yeah.
Genji, Swift Strike, got a little over a 7% reduction on its damage.
Spooky for Genji's, because you got to go in the quick match again and relearn what a Swift Strike does. When you dive that tower, you have enough damage to actually get that Abathur and get out.
Yeah. Raynor continuing to get dinged a little bit. Basic attack damage going down from 103 to 101.
He's fine.
Not even a 2% reduction.
Yeah, he's going to be just fine.
Yeah. Sergeant Hammers, though, keep an eye out. Be careful. Neosteel plating. The cooldown has been increased from 12 to 16 seconds. That is sizable. And also, if you've been taking siege tactics at level 4, shifting out of siege mode now removes the unstoppable effect.
Yeah. So previously, you could, using a siege ability, run away while not in siege. And they want to get rid of that ability while increasing the cooldown on it. This could be enough. It really depends where the unstoppable is being used. And, is it a, oh no, Malfurion's here, let me run away while activating this so I can zoom through the route? Well, that's an exploit. Okay, let's curve that in. But once you are under the effect of the ability, you haven't gone into a reset period. So how this works, Sammy splits into his illusions. He is now fresh. He completely gets rid of all debuffs on him. But this also means that he gets rid of all trace of debuffs on him. So if you're standing in a route of Malfurion and you're Sammy and you hit that split button, you are now a fresh Sammy and get hit by another route because you were previously unaffected by it, sort of, quote unquote.
Yeah, you're basically rooting yourself for longer.
Whereas Hammer here, because she doesn't phase out, she doesn't get replaced with a new Hammer, in a sense. She's still the same Hammer, gets hit by that Unstoppables and rides away.
Yeah, very interesting. Hard thing, it seems like, to kind of design around.
It's such an interesting puzzle. Lots of pro players calling for Hammer to just be gone. There's no counterplay. Chromie used to be one of our big Hero League counterplay picks, and we sort of lost that range on her. Li Ming is orb build's crazy. Do I actually have to say that to anybody? Because we look at her win rate here, and you just go, who's taking Li Ming? People are, and it is good. You wonder where it falls flat. I certainly do. Maybe it's in other leagues than my own, but Li Ming is very powerful, and orb Li Ming is soakable in an organized environment. So that's where that runs into trouble for Hammer.
Yeah, she's another strange one, right? Like, a lot of games played if you go and look at statistics websites, and yet right above Junkrat, like down in the dumps in terms of win rate. But orb build is
a
terrible.
bizarre thing.
Yeah. It's absolutely scary. I am not quite sure what's going on there.
And still low if you put it into Masters Diamond and high leagues like that. So you still see her in HGC a bit. She can't do it because it gets soaked on the way to Hammer, and so there's definitely some issues there. This is certainly a good way to curb them, as when you dive Hammer with more than 1 CC, she won't be unstoppable as she walks away.
Yeah. Moving down the nerf list, Deckard. They just went for a couple of talents here. Potion of Shielding. The shield amount is down just a little under 10% reduction there on the shield amount from Potion of Shielding. And then at level 13, Ancient Blessings, its cooldown doubled from 30 to 60 seconds.
Not for us. It's just crazy again. Deckard is falling like mad. Tyrande stole tons of his win rate, being aggressive in damage and also some engage follow-up. Unlike Tyrande, he makes the engage and then everyone else follows up him. Tyrande usually follows up the tank and what they do in order to aim her smaller skill shot. But our at-home Deckard is going to suffer seriously. You are going to want a team that maybe has things like Muradin, Blaze, and Yrel, and Diva, Dahaka. Basically your front line should not interact with your potions anymore, because Potion of Shielding did all that catch. You'd say, go live, and they'd have that bonus shielding on top, but that would let them live. Now he's a little better at setting up a backline and being like, squishies, come get these when you need them. Frontline, take care of yourself.
Yeah, which is tough. And I don't envy the situation that the balance designers are in to try and work this around the games at home versus the professional play. But that's a bit of a theme on today's episode.
Definitely. And they got to get BlizzCon ready. None of these changes can be huge and drastic anymore, but they want diversity at that tournament.
Do you think this is the last most drastic change we'll see? Do you think it's going to be pretty minor once Tuesday hits?
I would expect one more big one. We're pretty bug light at the moment. This patch did fix Li Ming having a disintegration bug where you basically lost control of your character. And that was kind of the last thing on everyone's minds to get fixed. So we're looking good for bugs. I would say we probably have one BlizzCon patch. I'm worried about the globals. I think they might mess with those again before the end. They may mess with white main a little more. Certainly they'll keep messing with supports, but I think tanks are where they're going to be.
Putting their focus.
Yeah.
Last nerf I wanted to mention is white main. Desperate Plea had its heal amounts reduced, pretty minor, from 145 down to 140. I don't think you're going to notice much of a difference there. But Searing Lash had 1 second added onto its cooldown, and Righteous Flame got a bonus damage increase, as well as the mana return on hit for Indulgence at level 4. Also got quite the bump.
They want you to do a Searing Lash build, or at least try it this next week. Right now, things have made their way into, hey, Kyle sort of called it and was completely wrong for weeks. Clemency build. Now I'm right, months after.
Does it count if changes?
I don't think it counts. No, I think you were right because you actually called what it was going to be on release. So you still win.
I was just happy because I used to be really bad at that. But yeah. Well, we'll see how this works. You think it's going to stick?
I don't see a lot of people doing Righteous Flame build because the whole sort of point of it is to get the person hit twice when they stand still. And then you're going to harsh discipline them and root them because to punish them for standing still. There's a bit of a theme today, Garrett. Don't stand still. Bad things will happen. Don't do it in World of Warcraft. Don't do it here.
Yeah. I'd like to see a softening of that a little bit. But before we get into the PTR, let's talk about the solo lane.
Big topic this week.
Yeah. If you missed it, player Zergling had quite the popular post on the subreddit talking about why the solo lane in Professional Heroes is boring to watch, and really got into it. Got some blue replies, and kind of really targets Blaze, Yrel, and Dahaka in this.
And it's a great conversation to have because ever since the tower ammo went away, which was going to increase our interactivity, our showmanship of that lane over the last year. We're coming up on a full year of that change. Things have slowly leaked towards Yrel and Blaze and Dahaka being like, hey, are you invincible? Yes, I'm invincible. Shall we both farm? Let's both farm. And they just stand there and, as he said it, wet noodle each other. It's true.
It's apathetic. It's like watching the two goth kids in class just stare at each other.
Yeah, and when the camera goes, let's check on that solo lane guy, goes up there, and you see that. What you want to see is like Malthael dodging Banelings and Zagara being wiggling and dives in the bush and throws a Hydralisk out, and maybe this Li Ming who's solo laning for some reason is farming towers while running away versus the Tracer who had to take the lane, and things are crazy and they're trying to build advantages and some guy dies and you got to rotate someone down. But that's the crux of the issue. Getting crazy means somebody's going to die. One of the two, someone's going to win, and the whole team loses too much XP. The towers are not worth enough. A tower is worth less than the 2 waves that you'll catch staying alive. And so when you're on Braxis,
I just was gonna say before we move on that I would like to interject and say that we were rather critical about how much towers used to be worth once that change was made.
Very, very.
It was extremely snowbally.
Yeah, that's a great thing to bring up because farming towers was intense. 3 levels off a single Dragon Knight take as they went and just bop, bop, and got 4 of them. And it felt like there wasn't anything you could do. Strategies developed in kind of the same sort of you ignore me, I'll ignore you, where Nazeebo would run over to the tower and throw spiders and zombies at it. Meanwhile, Li Ming's throwing orbs at your tower, and both are seeing who can get the tower XP first to gain a level. It got weird. If that turned on today, would that happen? There'd be a Blaze standing in front of that tower now, catching the Li Ming orb. Would it be nullified? Maybe it'd be interesting again. It's a fascinating issue.
Yeah, but if the XP becomes worth it again, do you even take the Blaze anymore?
Right. Do you just go back to the Nazeebo Zagara business? That's what I said in the new year.
Yeah. Right? Yeah. Is being defensive worth it when you can just be offensive and get ahead? That's kind of my thought. So I don't know. It's not perfect. So I think you did a pretty damn good job explaining it. That is more or less Zergling's points in short. I recommend going and reading the entire post. But it got a reply. It got a reply from Blue Poster AZ Jackson, and his response in short was, and again, I'm surmising here, these are way too long to read in full on the podcast, but basically he said that the team agrees that the lack of interaction is an issue, but he also advocated caution against overly simplified scapegoats like infinite ammo, saying, let's pump your brakes. Not sure that's the issue, because as far as Jackson is concerned, this issue really cropped up after the release of Blaze and Yrel, and versus infinite ammo. So that's why Blaze and Yrel were also targeted with this patch, and also why we haven't talked about them yet, because they fit more tightly in here, which we'll talk about in a second. So Jackson did say that there were many reasons for changing tower ammo, that they wanted to explore other ways to make laning interactive outside of reverting that change. So we'll see what happens with that. He did say that one cool suggestion, and this is a direct quote that I thought was neat, was Chaos OS's post about the mage minion having sapper-like qualities to it.
This would give you a reason to walk the mage in. And he called it a sort of missile ability that if you got in range, it would suddenly unleash. Not so much the wizard would be like, and then run at the building.
Well, it would have turned into like a wraith form and just flew forward and exploded.
That delivering the orb, right? But so it's a really cool idea as to why you would want to even get your minions into range of the towers in the first place. And I like that this was addressed so quickly, because this was the hot issue. And if you've been on Braxis and you've been in the solo lane and you die, people will yell at you. They'll be like, why didn't you just hide? And you're like, because I'm playing a video game, bro. Like, what are you talking about? Like, no, but you can't ever win that lane. You're Raynor versus Yrel. That's not going to work out. As funny as it is, and it kind of sounds on paper like, oh yeah, that'd be good. You could just poke Yrel. No, she's invincible. You won't do it. So you hide behind the wall because otherwise she's going to jump over your head, knock you backwards, and then the trouble begins. So you hide behind the wall, just killing the wave as it comes, and you're losing tower, and you go, I'm not going to lose this tower. You're going to lose Yrel, and you go out there and you die. And the correct thing was to hide behind the wall and do nothing. That feels off.
That's even brought up in Jackson's post. He said that the overall they've tried to design this game where being offensive is the correct decision. And that ties into the admission that they think this is an issue because that is not happening. So more often than not, being safe behind the wall, letting that tower fall, letting that fort fall is the correct decision.
And it's important to note too that you may be thinking of other heroes that solo lane really well, Thrall, Malthael, Sonya. The reason why those don't show up in the HGC solo lane is because they're gankable. You know, you're good versus your 1v1, but Yrel, Blaze, and Dahaka, they're going to get out if someone comes up and visits. That's the real difference there. Coordinated play.
Yeah. And Jackson even brought that up. He said that there are two things that they would like to see as to addressing, or the direction they would like to see the solo lane go. And he brings up more management of health, mana, and getting value trades against the enemy hero. Just kind of ties into the mana conversation we were already having, and also ties into the Blaze and Yrel changes we're about to talk about. Because he said, if they have too much sustained, it's a demotivator because any damage that you put out is just going to be undone very quickly.
Yeah.
And then the second thing is more reward for winning the lane. He said that he doesn't think there's enough risk reward for shoving the opposing hero out and pushing with the lane at the moment.
I agree.
Yeah. So what did they do? Well, they nerfed Blaze and Yrel.
Yes, they did. In particular, Blaze did get maximum health, which matches his other working into more warrior. They want to make Blaze solo tank viable. They said as much that Yrel would just be a huge rework kit change, and they really like her because she's so unique, and I agree. I'd be sad if Yrel completely lost what makes her Yrel in the first place.
Yeah. No, I think that's totally fair. But do you think they were successful with Blaze? Is this enough? Because there's a lot of mana inefficiency being added to him, and a generous amount of health and regen.
Yeah, this isn't the solo tank update for Blaze. Mana cost increase for Flame Stream, Oil Spill, Jet Propulsion got a cooldown reduction, which is good for him. Bunker Drop loses damage and goes up by 20-second cooldown, twice as much mana. The weird thing here just being like, is that interactivity? And we won't really know for weeks. So Blaze is in his lane. And let's use that Raynor again. You're standing there shooting him, and he's standing on his flames going, ha, I'm invincible. This is my lane to soak. But he runs out of mana. So you beat Blaze in kind of this weird backwards kind of way where, yeah, he was invincible, but he just ran out of steam. Is that compelling? Does Raynor feel successful? Well, yeah, Blaze left. I now get to farm this lane. Does Blaze's win rate suffer dramatically in a completely different way, which is horrible for us at home and horrible for his home win rate, where Volskaya, Blaze's bottom lane, invincible, unstoppable, soaks it like a champ, rolls into the objective, and in the first 2 seconds has no mana. Dies, team fight falls apart, blazes the game, win rate looks awful.
Yeah, and although maybe you're landing on the solution, right? Maybe if the mana inefficiency also makes them an inefficient tank, then you've solved the issue. Because then the job starts going back to your Sonya or your Zagara or someone who you're not dependent on the success of the front line and them having mana for.
Right, and Zagara is a really interesting example because I feel like you can go just ham bananas on Zagara and win that lane like an absolute champ, but you go 50 seconds in, you're out of mana. It's over. You got to go tap that well. And granted, you're a smart person. You use that well in the first minute. You're going to have it for the 3-minute objective. Way to go, champ. But you're still just burning mana. So for someone who plays as much as Zagara, how do you feel mana feels? Do you feel stopped by it?
Well, but I feel it is good on characters that aren't blazing Yrel.
Yeah.
If we were living in a world where the job of the lane pushers was not being done by tanks, then I think it's fine, because I think most other characters, this gets foggy when you think about the reign of Sonya, because mana isn't an issue for Sonya. But beyond that, if you look at other characters like you mentioned, Thrall, even Ragnaros, I think it's fine. I think across the board, most of our traditional lane pushers, they have to worry about their mana, and I think that's a good thing.
Yeah, when you look at something like Sylvanas versus Zagara, mana feels pretty good. And getting the enemy to tap is a real success. Ooh, yeah, I hit her. She's got to go grab that well now. She used her well before I did. I'm going to have my well later. I can really push this fight. And those are dynamic fights. So maybe. And we talked about this in previous weeks with things like, riding on Convection. Yeah, Convection's a bit of a bummer to see. It's not as powerful as the game goes on as some other talents on Kael'thas, but as long as the guy knows when to hearth correctly, it doesn't really matter if he plays Convection. The problem arises when I take Convection and I now have huge mana issues because my other mana talents increase my mana pool. I do the same thing on Jaina right now. If I don't take my mana orb talent, I'm a pretty bad Jaina.
But that's a learned skill. That's something you could get over the hump of.
So I can expect Blaze to get over this hump, to make a hearth instead of just heading straight for that first objective. Loses a little bit of soak, perhaps. It's going to be a time of trial for him, and I just don't see it working out in home games, which just complicates that issue. Plus, there's a whole nother thing going on right now, which is really, really wackadoo, and it's solo tank Zul. Zul is now, maybe slightly fault of this show, certainly fault of HGC, but we've been talking about it as well. Zul is being picked solo tank. And when they say solo tank, they're saying Yrel, Blaze, Dahaka are still on the team. Diva's even on the team because she can reset her health. She bumper cars everybody. But Zul, instead of the old Zul that you're used to, and it's going to throw you for a loop. I was coaching Jeff Kanata yesterday. I'm like, watch out for this guy. He's on Muradin. And he's like, it's fine. And he was completely thrown off. And it's completely understandable because Zul, as you remember him, comes running at you, throws out a bone prison, then goes, run away. I got the bone prison. Everybody do something else about it. New tank Zul gets you in the bone prison and keeps walking in a straight line towards you. And then auto attacks your face and is invincible. And you're just like, who is this guy? What is he doing?
His survivability is too much, but it's kind of what I always wanted to see out of Zul.
Yeah.
He's terrifying. He should be scary. When that bone prison hits, you should be like, oh God, the Undertaker has come to reap my soul.
But he's fulfilling a main tank role because such reliable, long-lasting CC, and he's being accompanied by these crazy bruisers that can hold a solo lane by themselves and later do bumper cars on the enemy side. And with the upcoming Kerrigan update, with such huge amount of shield and a long-lasting CC, people are looking at her and saying, well, she's going to do the same thing.
Yeah, I think the survivability of those characters needs to be looked at. Kerrigan, let her land, and let's see first, obviously.
Yeah.
But Zul, I think it's already a little ridiculous and at concerning levels. But I don't know. I want to see more melee. I want to see more bruisers.
Certainly cheese of the month. And
yeah.
Do we take Thrall and put him on par with that? If Thrall touches you with his Wind Fury, should he regenerate most of his health? And maybe yes, because he should be rewarded. I mean, we certainly had these metas where Malthael's just too much, and the name of the game is don't let Malthael touch you, and when he doesn't, he loses bad. But everybody on the team has to know that. So there's still a learning period with Zul. And the AMA has said as much, that they're not going to do anything swift, but they're watching Zul.
Yeah. What are the chances that he gets recategorized as a tank whenever we get our new class delineations?
I mean, it's one build at the moment, and maybe that's the problem with my nice little Dota keyword system I love so much, that talents can drastically change what keywords a hero would even have. Would you put global on Illidan? Would it have a question mark by it? It's not pretty.
I mean, if you really need a global, I don't think Illidan's the right answer, regardless of how you spec them. So I would just say no in that particular.
And this is one build. This is pick all the blue talents down the line. Just pick all the blue pictures on Zool and you'll build the tank build.
Yep. We haven't really said much about Yrel, but it's very similar to Blaze. Her abilities are not nearly as mana efficient as they used to be. Vindication, Righteous Hammer, and Avenging Wrath all had 15 mana added to their cost. The difference between her and Blaze, she did not receive a maximum health or regen buff.
Which seems fair.
Yeah.
This will be interesting to see. I mean, Yrel has minimal mana issues. Will this push her over?
We'll have to see.
Yeah.
I don't see a ton of Yrel in my home games. It's every now and then.
I do. I see a lot of, but that's because Malthael is being fought over right now. So if you have Malthael, no Yrel, because they kind of serve that same thing on the team. You wouldn't want both in most situations. If Malthael gets banned, Yrel comes out somewhere.
I feel like it's still catching up in my league. I'm still having people yell at me for picking Malthael. It's very odd.
That's nuts.
Yeah. Well, that one game I'm thinking about also was the one I tweeted about that had the hammer that drafted after the enemies had both Dahaka, Stitches, and Deckard.
Man, I saw one this week too. Really subpar hammer play, but just a salty son. They think they're godsends at the moment, that they're HGC masters and the rest of the teams ruin it for them.
Yeah. This particular hammer was just complaining about everyone else, and while they weren't the highest death, they were second highest, and I couldn't help myself. I was just like, hey, our whole draft is a little odd, and they've got X, Y, and Z, and you picked an immobile character, and this person just, lol, you think hammer is bad, lol, you think hammer is bad, lol, you think hammer is... I'm like, oh my, I'm not saying hammer is bad. It depends, and in this particular situation, it doesn't. It was the wrong pick.
You have to acknowledge that you're basically that Merc guy. You're that Merc guy who thinks the rest of the four are going to take care of the match for him, and you can have your fun little waltz through the flowers while you do quests. Like, no. Hey, we're not all going to protect you, Hammer. We all don't trust you. You gotta put it forth. You gotta stop hover sieging everywhere and catch up and have some good positioning in the first place. Nothing wrong with hover siege. I just want you to break it so you can catch up the team fight and then set it up again so you're in range, and then you can hover siege.
Exactly. Just because you can move slowly doesn't mean you're moving fast enough.
Right. It doesn't mean everybody else is moving too fast for you. You have another mode. You have booster rockets. Use them.
I was all for hammer. I was all for hammer being meta until this week. I'm done. Feel free to nerf her into the ground so we never have to deal with her again.
I think this change will be good for her, and this feels good right now. Our same issues apply, and it'll be until after BlizzCon we really solve whatever that issue is. It's going to take experimentation on the team side. 1 level leads, 2 level leads, they've still, ever since the beginning of the year, felt insane. And there's not a lot of things you can do by yourself in this game to make that big comeback outside of really owning a team fight, which is a way to carry. But the game did feel like in the past it had all these alternative options to you, whether it's a sweet split push Zagara, jump in her Nidus and heading somewhere else real quick. Those things just don't fly anymore. But we're in this to BlizzCon, and we'll see what the new year looks like.
Yeah. Well, before we move on, let's thank our patrons over at patreon.com/ITN that are supporting Into the Nexus. If you like the show and you want more of it, the Patreon is the way that we fund the show and ourselves. This is what Kyle and I do for a living. We create quite a few different pieces of content and freelance and whatnot, and the Patreon is a huge part of what we do, and we thank you for the support, everyone. We are also... Again, we're within reach. We're within reach, Kyle, of our next goal, which is to get Dunk Train and other pros back on the show, get them paid for their time so that they can share their experiences with us. It's very close. So go and check it out. If you like the show and you think that you feel that you get some value from us and would like to give some value back, patreon.com/ITN is the place to go and check it out. And this week, we'd like to thank some of our newer patrons. Thank you to Jeff E., Christian M., and Nate, no last name given.
And we do thank you in the order we receive them. We still go through a back catalog a little bit, but really just want to shout out to so many people signed up this last week. And it was super cool to see your support heading towards BlizzCon. We're really excited to continue reporting on this game. It is a fabulous show. I love playing it. I love watching it. I love reporting on it. And thank you all for the support.
Yeah. Also, BlizzCon's expensive to fly out to. I appreciate the little extra buffer.
It's true.
Thank you very much. All right, let's talk PTR, Kyle. It is time to talk about what has not yet come to pass, but what is about to come to pass. And it starts off with Team League. Team League is in the news, Kyle.
It is.
Team League in PTR now supports all party sizes, including solo players.
The way this works is you go to your rank screen and your how many wins you have, how many games you've had is a button. And you click that you want to play Hero League or that you want to play Team League.
I don't understand why this needed to be changed. Couldn't they have just kept the split?
What do you mean?
Like, you have to click a league box instead of the delineation. I don't know. Like, I assume just having a queue, 2 queue buttons was my thought.
Well, remember, if you were in a group of any kind on the rank screen, it would take you into Team League, regardless of what you wanted. And now
that's right. You're
solo
right.
queue players are choosing between the two.
That's a good point. Okay, that does make sense. Never mind then. I stand corrected. They're much smarter at interface than myself.
No, but you're not wrong to immediately think, like, what a waste of time. Why did it is a little bit of a mind trip that solo queues are going to choose between the two. And why would you? Well, there's very real reasons behind it. Your rewards in Team League are on lower tiers. You have to get to a certain tier in Hero League in order to receive sweet rewards. In order to get the Season 3 mount that's going to be coming out, you had to get to Platinum. That's not achievable by most people. We know that. That's not a comment. That is literally the bell curve. Most people are gold and below. That's the way the system works.
Yeah.
They never got them out.
I would say that's the easy answer, though, because to say that people want to play Team League because there's rewards. I feel like that's the easy out. Like, I want to play Team League because I want to meet other people playing coordinated play. Well, you started off this entire episode talking about Blaze right at the top of the show, before we even hit the news bumper, about how Blaze and why he works so well in professional play versus our games at home, and how these changes are probably going to hurt him even more in our games at home. And that, to me, it comes down to coordinated play. Hero League is not coordinated. We have voice chat. It is not perfect. Everyone does not use it. And if you are not using it, it is not coordinated. If you are using it, there's still no guarantee it is coordinated. You may just be yelling at each other.
And there might be 2 people who aren't on or aren't listening. The Team League mount reward is at bronze. All you got to do is place to get it. And that could mean that it just in general has more people playing it, which could be, a big deal. It could mean that there are people who say, you know what, Solo League's not for me. Even if I'm playing alone, I'd really like to know that the other guys on my team are more likely to be on a team themselves. Even if it just means 2 dudes who want to totally do sweet executes, Uther, etc. Yeah, let's Divine Shield mosh them, guy. Like, that's going to take help. Maybe there's a guy who's like, yeah, let's nano boost Genji, and they don't want to play along. Well, at least there's 2 dudes you can follow that are going to work their hardest to be cool out there. So in that way, it may be just a better ranked game for what Heroes of the Storm is. There is one other aspect of it, though, that's interesting.
Making friends.
Well, yeah, making friends is nice. I was going to say that Team League has never had the restrictions of having level 5 heroes. And these are not on the PTR either.
Oh, so they still don't have that restriction.
So if you own 16 heroes and you want to play Hero League, it's going to tell you, yeah, but they all have to be level 5 so you can play. Team League, because you were always in agreement with your team what you were going to be picking, doesn't have that restriction.
Well, that doesn't bother me that much. There was still a chance. You were going to end up like with 3 and 2, right?
Yeah, or some guy, ground level 5 mouthfeel and AI and was like, okay, I'm ready. And well, you're not ready, bro. But
I mean, I have a level,
did it anyway.
I have a level 20 Uther. I played him maybe 5 times this year.
Right. I mean, I've got a 23 Tassadar from beta when he was a mage.
And amazing.
Yeah, he wasn't really good.
Actually, I think the very first time I ever played Heroes of the Storm at BlizzCon on the show floor, we had that like a full group. You and Kristen were on the opposing team, and you just annihilated me as Tassadar.
He was cool. He was cool. I was in the mecha skin because I thought that was really neat.
And I was Arthas in normal skin because I just wanted to play a video game where I could be Arthas again. That's all I wanted, and I got it.
I still think Arthas should have beat Tassadar in a lore fight.
Yeah, he should.
Or Tassadar sacrifices himself, and they both lose, and Arthas still won there because death.
What are you doing? Succeeding you.
Exactly.
No, you're not. I sacrifice myself before you do it. Just be like two kids playing idiot tag.
Too late. I won anyway.
But anyway, I find this Team League announcement rather exciting, and I look forward to trying it out.
Yeah.
I'm also hoping that this alleviates queue times for 2-stacks because I miss 2-stacking with you.
That's the big deal, right? 2-stacking, singles in the rider lane. We throw a single in there, 2-stack, boom. No more 3-stacks being dominant because there's so many 2-stacks in the world. It does, and one of the big questions right now is this what it always should have been? And that's...
Oh, it's too early to ask that.
I know, but it's a big thought. It's easy for me to say, Solo League is Solo League. Are you crazy? Why would you don't mix those. It is a tradition. It is going back generations. The solo queues are meant to be by themselves because they do bizarre, weird things so they can become carries. And they can carry on characters that should have never been carries in the first place. But it's Heroes of the Storm. And come level 10, you should really group up and just play the game as a team, regardless of what cool stuff you can probably do on the side. The way the game's gone, there's not a lot of room for solo traditions.
And that's my feeling. Like the game has always strived to be like team play first, coordination first, and yet its most played mode stripped out a lot of the coordination.
Yeah, when I was talking last week about a single carry giving the team focus.
Sorry, I just wanted to walk back my most played mode. I'm sure it's quick match or something.
Oh yeah.
Compared to Hero League. But you know what I'm getting at. It's most discussed mode.
Definitely. And it's cool to look at. It's cool to imagine what your rank would be in there while you hit quick match again, because it is the most seriously taken mode. So lots of people are saying, should we just, get rid of it? Should you just queue for one thing and say, I'd like to be a single rider only? And they go, okay, cool. Well, we'll find you a game with 5 singles, but let's all just be in the same pile. And if you don't frankly care, let's put you in the same pile anyway.
Yeah.
Now, that does enter the sort of naturally evolved Pokemon kind of situation, though. If you remember that.
But you mean leveling without rare candy?
Yeah, without where some guy would be like, well, what level are your Pokemon? It would be like, well, I didn't use it. Dude, I was totally one of those guys.
Oh, so you're saying what league are you? And you're like, oh, I'm Diamond. Well, is it Team League or Hero League? And if you play Team League, were you solo the whole time or did you play with friends?
Exactly. And we get into that situation.
Okay, yeah. F those people. Play the game the way you want to play it.
Yeah.
As long as you feel like you're always improving or learning something new, it's fine. It's good to go.
You did get better stats without using the rare candies, though. I still won most of my duels because of that.
Oh yeah, my naturally max level Blastoise was the bomb, man.
Natty Blast.
Natty Blast. That's what I could. Good old Natty Blast. All right. So PTR Garden of Terror. How does it feel, Kyle? Because I have actually not had a chance to try it yet.
It's good. It feels really good. It has. I had got to play 4 games on it. The first thing you'll really notice looking at the map is that all the cubbies have been removed. Those little boxes where you'd put your Murky Egg or Stitches would go gorge you in, or Garrosh would throw you inside and then body block you in. They're gone. And where they were is really opened up. So bottom lane, siege camp. We've all been there 1,000 times. And it's that C shape. Knock out the wall. The wall is gone. That is now staring directly at the pit where the Garden Terror for seeds used to stand.
Wait, so there's no bush there or anything?
Yeah, there's no dividers.
Okay, and there's am I thinking of the The siege camp or the bruiser camp? Because the siege camp has the... Yeah, but the siege camp had the bushes. Are the bushes gone?
The bushes, the wall itself, gone.
Wow.
You know,
so you can just see in there. There's nothing to
your
break line of
middle-
sight.
Yeah, your middle siege camp, where there was that bush that a tank would have to stand in because someone would always come running in trying to steal your siege camp, gone.
Okay.
Every merc camp has been like generally opened up and is no longer some little pit for you to get stuck in, fight in, or to sort of sneak into.
I like that a lot because they were already fighting pits, so why not just
Yeah.
kind of encourage it? Make it more tactical.
And it was frustrating as a player to have Muradin do the correct thing to run past you and go sit in that bush and be like, Muradin, you want to help me with this? And he's like, I gotta watch for enemies. What are you gonna watch for enemies? No. Okay, I'm doing my job here.
You're
It's
crossing
nice
the
that we
road
can-
with your eyes closed. What do you want me to do? You want to get hit by a bus?
Exactly. So it's nice that they opened up the map a lot. If you're on the objective, you can generally see an enemy taking a siege camp nearby.
Very cool. I like that a lot. And then the terrors. I watched you play a few of these. They seem rough if you don't deal with them.
They are, if they're just left alone. But the important part here is that one defender really can handle it. In that way, it's a lot more manageable than something like Alterac Pass because you're not dealing with the damage increase on the enemy side. Terrors have a potted plant, but it loses health over time just like it did. But the health is minor. If you auto attack this thing, like it felt like 3 times, it's gone. This potted plant is meant to punish people who never rotate, who never end up actually interacting with it in the first place.
I like that design a lot. That it's crippling if no one is there, if no one is present to try and fight this thing back, at the very least damaging the potted plants. But if just one person is there with any ability to damage the potted plants that turn buildings off, then you're good. It's fine. The health on these things is negligible.
The terror itself still has its one-shot minions sort of cleave attack. That does make them push really fast, and pushing out a lane in general isn't going to net you a lot of time to deal with them. But because they can be dealt with so well by themselves, it's not that big of a deal. Because it one-shots minions, that's a trait of the terror. So if you throw a mercenary camp into that lane, these terrors do rather minor damage and actually are slowed down massively by a siege camp in their lane. So that would be your reaction. Oh no, we lost the terror. Grab a siege camp, put it in that lane, and then we'll address that lane later.
So are we back to defensive mercenaries a la old school Haunted Mines?
Yeah, very much so. You're losing the objective, go get the mercs real quick.
Okay, that's kind of cool. It's like one of the only fond memories I have of that map.
And now that they're open up, there's some give and take there, because if you're taking the seeds and you see the enemy team taking merc camps, you know that they're building a resistance against you. Do you take that right now? Do you try to stop the merc camps that are going to ruin your push? Maybe there's a bit of a war to have there.
Yeah, it sounds so much more tactical than what we had before. Very different, for sure, but I don't think it's bad.
The final thing, and perhaps the thing that really shocked me, was the terrors do have a skull boss style slam stun, AoE under their feet. And that's where things get really spooky. And that's where Alterac Pass feels a lot tamer. If there's tanks repositioning you into the stun, you're dead. And, that's always been the case, right? You pushing boss, it goes for a slam, your rail jumps over you, knocks you into it, you're probably a dead man. But there's 3 of these in each lane, and if you're trying to do it by yourself, this is where things are going to go wrong.
So would you recommend just not doing it by yourself if you're not a ranged?
The potted plant is always put right in the middle in that perfect sweet spot where it's spread across everything. So take care of the potted plant, and then maybe back up and avoid the slam in the first place. The potted plant absolutely can be dealt with by itself, but that stun, if you get repositioned, will kill you. But that's where the ebb and flow is going to come from. It looks snowbally. It's really not too bad. No more snowbally than Cursed Hollow is.
Cool. I'm excited for it. Excited for it to land next week. We still have pretty major hero reworks to cover. And yeah, it's a thick show today. So let's talk about Kerrigan first. As I kind of hinted at the top of the show, if you were a master of the Kerrigan combo, if you had the timing down perfectly for maximum damage, get ready to go back to the drawing board. It's not completely different. It's kind of the same basic concept, but the timing is completely different. I guess let's just go down the line here. Ravage, her Q ability, the one that makes her jump, the one that resets when you kill things. It now has 2 charges. It also has reduced range. The range went from 8 to 6. That's still a decent range. Don't get too scared about that. And the damage was almost halved, but again, 2 charges. So the damage went from 210 down to 130, but you have 2 charges.
So you can do more damage if you put both into one person.
Exactly. And that's a really interesting thing to keep in mind. It also now refunds the mana cost of the ability when it's used on an enemy that dies within 1.5 seconds. You get the reset, but you also get the mana back. So now it's, as long as you are using it correctly, it's very mana efficient.
And you're not leaking mana anymore, which was one of the big changes they made in the past to curb her on Infernal Shrines. They basically said, Kerrigan, Infernal Shrines, go for it. You're great at it now, as long as you're actually managing it well and actually hitting things that you can kill over and over and over again. She's got pretty quick lane clear. Impaling Blades, damage down. Primal Grasp, damage down dramatically from 114 to 25. 78% reduction there.
The big thing with Primal Grasp, though, and we kind of barreled through Impaling Blades. Impaling Blades just got a damage reduction. That's it. Works the same. Primal Grasp got a massive damage reduction, but it now has an added functionality. After 2.5 seconds, which my gut reaction is this is a lifetime. But what in reality, it's that this is an amount of time I have to learn to be good with this character. After 2.5 seconds, after you cast Primal Grasp, Kerrigan pulses out damage in a radius around her. It hits all nearby enemies that are in the radius for 180 damage. So the pull damage went from 114 down to 25, but she now pulses 180 damage, which is way higher than the pull damage ever was before. Plus, you still get a little tiny bit of pull damage, but it is 100% like based on you being able to stay on your target. But again, we go back to Ravage. It has 2 charges now. So you could pull, if they get away, you can then Ravage back onto the target to make sure that this damage lands.
Assimilation, her shield trait, now does 15% damage dealt to shields instead of 10%. And it feels like there's more in there. This shielding builds really fast, in particular with the damage of Primal Grasp's little Psi explosion on the back end. What this really means, if you dislike Kerrigan in the past because she was just a combo matron, you would go in, you go, and then maybe you got it, and then you'd walk away. Now you get the combo. It's still a great skill to have. You should do it. You should be skilled at it. But sticking around after is where you're going to get a lot of your bonus shielding. Investing in what you just comboed and continuing the rest of the fight to be that aggressive is really rewarding and going to give you a lot of survivability with this bonus damage out of your Primal Grasp. It's a lot of fun to do. That's where she's really going to shine. She's way more dynamic. She's more like Illidan or even Malthael. You're going to go in and you're going to make that choice to invest rather than just being that one-trick pony.
Yeah. I'm very excited about it. And any hesitation I have with this Kerrigan rework is only because I got a place again. Kerrigan has been on my roster, and I got to completely relearn her.
You're really going to feel the range. As someone who plays a lot of Kerrigan, that range of 2 reduction on your Ravage is going to suck. And the leapfrogness is a lot of fun. There's a really fun talent, too, where you can, every time you... So it's Boundless Fury at 7. Every time you Ravage an enemy hero, they get a little mark on them, but you get a reset. So you can go across a whole team of 5, whoop, whoop, up, 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 while still having 2 charges left at the end of it. By jumping around everybody like crazy, you just built a huge amount of shielding. You also really confused up the enemy where you're going to be when you eventually go for your combo. It's a lot of fun to do.
Yeah, that is what excites me, and that's why the Ravage range reduction is the thing I have the least immediate hesitation towards. because of the charge on it alone. The charges, I find that cool. Like, it's fine. Yeah, the range is down, but I have 2 of them.
There's a lot of really cool talents as well that have to do with damaging heroes enough times that eventually you build up more damage, up to 150% more damage on your blades. You get more spell power the more things you ravage. I mean, this makes it really interesting. You could, in a team fight, go bop, 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 and then target the guy you want to kill and have this huge amount of burst damage in the thousands. Or you might be on Infernal Shrines, bop, 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 and ready. Kael'thas goes, I want to get to the objective, and walks in the butch, and you just jump into his face with all this bonus damage, blow him the heck up. It's really fun to do.
Awesome. Well, you've caught a lot of my concerns. Just gonna have to get the timing down on making sure that pulsing damage after the Primal Grasp lands.
There are 3 big other, seductive changes here that might draw you to Kerrigan. Ultralisk now has a skill shot on it. It hits 1 target. It will, if 2 targets are perfectly lined together, it'll sort of veer and make sure it only hits 1. But it does a stun on contact and then sticks around as the old Ultralisk did.
Yeah. So old Ultralisk functionality is still there. It's just that now when you summon it, you can just shoot that sucker like a giant ravenous bullet at a target and stun him.
You get a 0.5 second stun in addition to the stun you already have on your kit too. So that's pretty cool. This talent, you probably saw it in the video. It's really cool. Her chrysalis, where you hide inside. It's basically a self-imposed web wrap. You jump inside, and the ticker goes, and it has a set amount of health. If enemies destroy, you pop out early, but you heal while you're inside of it. You also gain shields while you're inside of it. So with this Ultralisk, you could be in a bit of a dire strait. Throw out your Ultralisk, jump inside your chrysalis, and emerge with a really good shield.
Oh, man, the flavor of that is so good.
Yeah. Important note, though, much like Mephisto, if you put your egg out aggressively, you're going to be in that egg in the horrible spot when you pop out eventually. All your buttons go away, too. You can't control your Ultralisk. You can't retarget him. And if you're Omega Storming, it turns off. It's gone. So no Omega Storm Chrysalis.
Gotcha. All right, time to talk about Brightwing.
Brightwing.
There's a lot going on here, too.
Yes, where do you even begin on this? There's so many flavorful changes. There's a lot cool about her.
Polymorph is just better.
Polymorph is just better.
Polymorph is just straight up better. It lasts for a quarter second longer, and its cooldown was shaved down to 10 seconds.
She also has a
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I got cooldown backwards. It's actually slightly longer now on the cooldown on Polymorph.
Hey, that don't matter for level 1 talent, greater Polymorph. You increase the range by 30%. Anytime a nearby hero is killed, reset the cooldown of Polymorph.
So good.
Yeah, right. So Genji dives, you polymorph him. Oh, here comes Tracer. Well, you polymorph her because Genji died. And that's pretty cute.
Yeah, but have you seen Hypershift? Have you seen Hypershift at level 1?
Yes.
You heal the phase shift target to 30% of the target's max health.
Now, that's an increase, actually. That's a 10% increase because your base phase shift is going to heal anyway for 20% maximum health.
Yeah. Sorry, we're skipping over so many things. But yes, it's nuts.
And the really cool thing about that is this is now your cooldown reduction for your phase shift. Every minion killed near you lowers the cooldown of phase shift by 2 seconds. So much better than healing people because you would... what exactly would you do? Like, it's ridiculous to think that it was even previously a talent. You would have to heal people so you could get to people. That makes no sense. Now you teleport in, and the person goes, thank you, Brightwing. Thank you for covering my lane. I'm going to go do other business now. And you sit there, and you farm, and you reduce that cooldown so you can join the party again. It makes sense.
I didn't hate it when it was healing. But I think it comes down to philosophy of the character, I guess. Like, do you want Brightwing to be like a true global, at least have the option to go be a true global by freeing up any type of cooldown reduction or bribe stacks? Bribe is getting changed to the same thing that you just mentioned. Minions now dying near Brightwing grant a bribe stack, and now you can get 5 bribe stacks if you hit an enemy in the center portion of your arcane flare. Also used to be tied to healing. But back to my point was, like, do you think should be a true global where anything, any beneficial cooldown reductions or stat gaining is done through killing minions, or do you think that she should be forced to lean into the support role and actually hang around characters and heal them? I wasn't against having to heal for perks, but at the same time, the idea of being able to just like go solo top again as Brightwing and join the party when I feel like it is freeing.
And that's the sweet play I want Brightwing on my team to make in the first place. I mean, there is a build, but that's what I just said. It was a build. If you wanted to heal people in the area, you were doing it so you had more phase ships to heal in the area, so that you could give that shield, so you can do that reveal on top of the team. It had nothing to do with being global in the first place.
Yeah. Let's back it up and talk about some of the other basic attacks or basic abilities. Arcane Flare had its outer damage reduced, had its inner damage reduced, but the missile speed is up 30%. Do you know how excited this makes me?
A lot of people are very excited. That was a slow-mo missile.
Fishing for compliments here, Kyle. Come on, you know how good I was already at getting people in the middle of my Arcane Flare.
It's true, and when you hit them in the middle, instantly pulse your heal. Not a cooldown reduction either. Like, not a cooldown reset. Cooldown's ticking. It still just pops, and then you got that tick still coming.
Yep. It's so good. It's I love it. They're making Brightwing an active healer.
Yeah.
Very, very good. Pixie Dust, just sadly, the range is down. Went from 8 to 7.
It does what it do.
I'll survive. The fact that I can increase the range of Polymorph with a talent, it makes this an easier pill to swallow. And then Soothing Mist, the heal amount was reduced. It went from 115 down to 105, but they've added the functionality that you mentioned already about instantly pulsing off of an Arcane Flare, but also you can activate your Soothing Mist to instantly pulse a Calming Wave, which clears all stuns, roots, slows, and silence effects from nearby allies. By the way, Cleanse is gone. Who cares?
Granted, Cleanse did give Unstoppable, so this is a removal, much like Malfurions, but they show some rather sexy use of it in the video, removing things like ultimates from Deckard or even Uther's Divine Storm.
I am definitely in the camp of gladly getting rid of Unstoppable for a baseline Cleanse, essentially, without Unstoppable.
She has an amazing auto attack talent, too, that will completely make this thing available every fight. Increases your auto attack range. Every time you auto attack, you reduce this cooldown by 5 seconds.
Dude.
Yeah.
I'm so into it.
Not very useful on the PTR, though. It was all Tyrandas and lots of stealthies. I think they wanted to kill nub Kerrigans.
Yeah. Forgot to add it to the notes, but didn't they get rid of the passive healing increase on Emerald Winds?
They did. Yeah, that is gone.
That's the one thing that bums me out.
You'll be okay.
I'm sure I will, but that is the one thing that bumps me out.
You still do really great numbers because so much of it is tied to the dream shot. It's not passive healing by just hovering in the area. You need to actually hit people in the center of your spit there.
But they've made it easier to accomplish because the Arcane Flare travels faster.
Exactly. But if you miss, it's going to be a bit of an honest situation where you missed, your team dies, that guy doesn't live because you missed your flare. So there's a nice little skill floor thing going on.
Mm-hmm. Although, how many times has a pulse from Brightwing really saved bacon? And the heal is down on it.
There's going to be a lot of people trying Brightwing for the first time this coming week. Think of Pixie Dust as a movement speed increase and not a spell damage reduction. It's a lot easier to do it that way. Oh, Thrall went in. He'd probably like some move speed. Give it to him, because when he goes in, he's likely going to get hit by spells. You're going to reduce damage. That's why your healing isn't outrageous, because you should reduce damage on the front end, like Tyrande.
Yeah. Now, the spell reduction is good, especially in today's meta, but you're right. Just think of it as, this person would like to move faster right now. I'm going to allow them to. Also works for escapes.
There are some really cool talents. We talked about the level ones, because of course you're going to interact with those regularly. The spit build is incredible. Goes on to even silence later on if you hit in the center. That's amazing at level level 16, they then deal 25% reduced damage for 3 seconds.
Oh, you're talking about Arcane Flare. When you say spit, because magic spit is tied to basic attack, I'm like, wait, what? Did I miss something? Does auto attack silence people? That seems busted.
No, Arcane Flare. You're correct.
Sorry. Okay. Yeah, but still, that is nuts. And this is going to be they want you to be good at this. They want you to land your Arcane Flares in the center because of more heals.
Exactly. There's also the phase out. Activate the phase and become invulnerable for 0.5 seconds.
Yeah.
It's good. Use it for CCs.
It's very good. I kind of want them to take that silence talent away so that it doesn't become so punishing that people learn how to move out of the way of Arcane Flare.
Perhaps. It's still level 16. You go the whole game without being silent, so it's always that surprise factor. Funny thing about phase out, though, they showed it in the video, counteracting Pyroblast. Well, you have something called Pixie Dust on your base kit, all right? Don't go dodging Pyroblast. You'll be fine. Actually dodge the CCs that would stop you from casting spells to save your life. Though phase out is only on a 20-second cooldown, so you know what? Dodge Pyroblast. It's fine. You'll have it for the next ability anyway.
Yep. And that's pretty much it for the BTR. Obviously, a lot more. We did highlights. If you want to see more, it's all up on the Official Heroes website, and we'll be playing this stuff on the live game next week, unless something completely crazy happens.
I got to point out, as a Brightwing fan, did you see the intensive winds talent for level 20 on Brightwing?
I did not. Intensive winds?
Yes, lower the cooldown of Emerald Wind to 3 seconds. 5 seconds on the PTR right now.
What?
Its mana cost is 200. So you have, at level 20, 690 mana on Brightwing. So you fly in and you can cast this thing 3 times if you wish.
Oh my god. And then you just hang around and pulse Soothing Mist.
Yeah, I mean, granted, you're probably going to use other spells. You'll probably get 2 uses out of this, but instead of just being like, wah, 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 with no control, you now choose to cast your wind.
That's so dope.
So there's some cool stuff coming for her.
Pass your wind, Brightwing, pass your wind. That's great. Thank you for pointing that out to me. I missed that one. I pretty much got to level 1, and I'm like, it doesn't get any better than this.
Celebrate already.
So, yeah, I'm very excited about this Brightwing.
You're not
rework.
wrong.
Yeah, it's good, man. It's good. And I'm really excited about the Kerrigan rework as well. It's just that I think it's going to take more relearning than Brightwing. It's all right. It's all right.
You're going to like those shields. Kerrigan's even got a really cute 20 where if you're hitting 4 heroes, infinite Omega Storm.
Sweet.
Yes.
Little saying, hey, Mephisto, watch this.
Yeah.
There was an AMA. We are at time. We will move some highlights to next week's episode, but most of the interesting stuff focused around Master and Grandmaster queue times.
Which they are very aware of. For the quick version, Illidan, they're looking at him. Probably nothing happened. And Malthael, Tormented Souls, maybe something happened in there. Chen, nothing for months planned for you. Sorry to hear that. Tassadar will become a High Templar. No word given on what that means.
Sounds like it means he's becoming a mage again.
Sounds about right.
I want that. I want Mage Tassadar.
Yeah, I think everybody does.
Just let him shield himself. Stop letting him help other people.
Unless they're going to let his auto attacks target friendlies and then heal through that, it just gets silly.
Yeah, Tassadar shouldn't be a healer. We already mentioned Zool. They said in the AMAs they're keeping an eye out. So, there you go. We've got a link to that in the show notes as well if you missed it. But that's going to wrap it up. It was a meaty episode. We hope we kept you entertained during that factoid bomb drop.
Yes, good luck in all your placements next week. Of course, don't be afraid to take time to do them. It's going to be a big new world. If you are the type that succeeds in a big new world, go for it, of course. But no telling what's going to be on top after this much balance.
No, not at all. Slow and steady if you want. Go for it. There's no hurry. But yeah, that's going to wrap it up. Thank you again to our badass patrons for their support over at patreon.com/ITN. Again, we've like 50 $1 patrons. We're at our next goal. 150 cent patrons, Kyle. We're at our next goal. We're there. It's done. So patreon.com/ITN if you want to support the show. And again, thank you so much to the patrons that have been signing up. It's lovely to see new patrons over 4 years into a podcast.
Yeah.
So thank you. Also, huge thanks to our producers, Declan H, Cheesy Bob, and Pathagos. Thank you very much. If you'd like to rep into the Nexus, and BlizzCon is right around the corner, so I would love to see some folks repping into the Nexus. Head on over to shirts.amove.tv and get yourself an Into the Nexus t-shirt, and then wear it at BlizzCon. And then when the dude with the goofy hair comes over and gives you a high five, it's me, and I'm excited about it. So go check that out. We also have custom etched glassware, pint glasses, wine glasses, and such over at etch.amove.tv. Catch us live Thursdays, 5 p.m. Eastern on twitch.tv/AmoveTV. You can follow the show on Twitter at ITNcast. But before we go, Kyle, you do all sorts of other stuff. Some of it is Heroes Theme. Some of it is role-playing. Some of it's just fun video games. Where can everybody find you?
You can find me over at twitch.tv/Kyle Fergusson. And since we're all going to be getting back to playing some serious modes for those placements, feel free to join me. There'll be lots of viewer games over at twitch.tv/Kyle Fergusson. Got a morning show that runs Monday through Wednesday for Heroes of the Storm. Thursdays is Skyrim at the moment. Kristen is a horrible criminal, has stolen many horses, and is wanted throughout the lands.
Nice. Very nice. Kyle and I do a morning show on Mondays. It's called Week Sauce. It's spelt like days of the week, and it is all one word. And it's this, but we don't talk about heroes. We talk about anything else. Life, movies, role-playing, video games that aren't Heroes of the Storm. It's all open. It's great. It's a good time, and we do a lot of Q&A, take a lot of questions from listeners, so check it out. Week Sauce. It's WEEK Sauce, all one word, wherever podcasts can be found. Other than that, follow me on Twitter at GarrettArt. Check out amove.tv, and I would recommend my solo show, R2T2, R2-T2, wherever podcasts can be found for some really nerdy Warcraft lore bits. Go and check it out. So that's going to wrap it up for this episode. Thank you all for listening, and until next week, good luck and have fun.
Take care.
My mouth is dry.
Yes. Were you messaging me during that?
No?
Cool. I'm glad, because I couldn't find any messages.
Oh.
This is my first time on Discord, and it was yelling at me.
Oh, I don't keep chat open because it makes the camera weird.
Cool. All right. Cool. I figured it wasn't you because I couldn't find anything, but I'm like, oh God, it's Garrett telling me my mic. Turn your mic off. Press your cam. I'm like, oh God. Where in this thing do I do that?
I guess we'll just use the doc chat from now on.
Oh, that'd be a perfect place to.
Because we're already looking at the doc, so maybe at the beginning we just open up chat and use that.
Perfect. Oh, looks like it's time. So, Calm Before the Storm was messaging. Got it.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah.
Yeah, they have a Discord thing. I forgot Discords have communities and such.
Yeah. Well, rad. Stream, you've been great. We're going to turn this off now. Bye.
Bye.